Hey guys, welcome to the Managers Mindset podcast. Today we have a special guest. She is a leadership and storytelling coach, and she has a decade of an experience. And within that decade of an experience, she also owns 4 years in coaching, uh, and also she is a Gallup Strength certified coach as well. In this entire podcast, we're going to be discussing about how to leverage strength and how to identify it and how to leverage it. That's what we're going to be talking about in this entire podcast. And trust me, we're going to be getting a lot of insights coming out from this podcast because we have Poonam from Bangalore. Hi Poonam, how do you feel?
Oh, it's been amazing, and I've really been excited and thinking, how can I share my knowledge that I have with respect to strengths with broader set of people? Because I personally have benefited a lot, and I would love to share that knowledge for people to benefit more from this.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Poonam, being part of this, since you have a decade of an experience and Gallup Strength certified coach as well. So what I wanted to generally understand is that when I did another podcast with another person called as Gagandeep, who is also a Gallup Strength certified coach, we were talking about different themes as we were talking about the strengths and what is strengths and how can we leverage it. But what I understood is that in Gallup language there is nothing called as a strength, but there are only themes, right? So now I wanted to really understand how these themes are evolved and how it is broadly classified, and how a layman can interpret those.
Sure. So, Gallup has 34 themes in total, and the way these themes are classified as your dominant themes, your supporting themes, and your least dominant themes.
Okay.
So, let's look at an example, right, for all of us to understand. So, imagine a wardrobe. And the way most of us would stack up our clothes is you have a set of clothes that you tend to use every day. You have a set of clothes that you use once in a while, but you also have a set of clothes that you know you need to have it in your wardrobe. You never know when are you going to use it, right? If and when you might use it or not as well. Now, looking at themes, your dominant themes are like your first set of clothes that you use every day. They come extremely naturally to you. You are absolutely comfortable using these themes.
Okay.
Your second set of themes, which are supporting themes, are your second set of clothes. I'm going to use my second set of clothes either if there's a special occasion or based on a situation. Right?
Okay.
So is it with your supporting themes. I don't use them every day, but I would use them as in when there is a need. Now, your third set is like the ones that are there in your wardrobe. You don't even know if you're going to use them. But if there is a need that arises, you would need to use them, right? So that's how your least dominant themes are. So as individuals, we all have 34 themes. The way they are ordered really depends on us as individuals. We don't use everything every day, right? There are some things that you use every day. There are some things you use based on a situation or an occasion. And there are some things that you do absolutely when you need to do it.
Okay.
So that's how your themes are really classified, and for us as common people to understand, right? So we have all of it. There are some things that I do very often,
Okay.
right? And those are your dominant themes. There are some things I do once in a while, maybe when I'm overly stressed out or it's a total different challenge that I'm working on. So you would probably fall onto some of your supporting themes at that time, right? And you might have to do something absolutely different from what you've been doing altogether right now. Right? And that's when you probably will fall onto your least dominant themes, because those are like once in a while and not your day-to-day situation. Yeah. So that's how really themes are classified in the language of Gallup Strengths.
Okay. So we have dominant themes, supporting themes, and least dominant themes.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Now, having talked about, because this primarily this podcast is for first line and second line managers. So if you look at any managers, they would be then the first priority goes to managing their teams or developing their teams, right? From that aspect, in complete teams, right? In all three themes, what are the list of competencies are required to manage or build teams?
Okay, so these three are domains, right? So the way your 34 themes are classified are dominant, supporting, and your least dominant. Now, as people manager, I think some things, or to be more precise, 4 things that anybody who's a people manager does is the first is really network internally and externally. So you know you've built enough relationships. What you also do as a people manager is you really control your projects, right? In the way it is moving, whether it's moving towards success or towards failure, you absolutely have the control, right? As people manager, you also plan and forecast for all the resources that you need to get this done.
Right.
And the last thing that you do is get things done or even do it yourself. Now, if I have to bring this layman language back into Gallup, all the 34 themes are divided into 4 domains.
Okay.
And they're called executing themes, relationship building themes, influencing themes, and strategic thinking themes. Right.
Yeah.
So the planning and forecasting is really strategic thinking. Doing things is executing. Building your network, internal or external, is your relationship building. How you control the way the project is progressing is your influencing skills.
Okay.
Right? Now, it's not that you need to have a set of themes in a specific domain for you to function well as a manager. But what's important to understand is that what do you lead with? So, are you somebody who leads with thinking?
Okay.
Are you somebody who leads with influencing, or are you somebody who leads with relationship building? Right? So, for example, let's say there's a manager who leads with thinking themes.
Okay.
So, what this person absolutely needs is time to think through things. Now, if you put this person on spot and say, I need a decision to be made, they might not be able to do it. You're not going to get the best out of them. But whose responsibility is it to identify that? I think it's the individual, right? So if I am a manager who's high on thinking themes, it's important for me to tell my stakeholders saying, hey, if you need the best out of me, I need some time to think. And that's when I am very good at. So let's say you have to attend a meeting, ensure that you've asked for the agenda. Ensure you have asked for what are you expected to do in that meeting. Right? So you're going to go much prepared, and then you'll be in a position to answer and give your decision instead of showing up there and then saying I want some time to think. Right? So that ability to understand, at the end of the day, any manager does all the 4 things, right? But there is a certain thing that you lead with, and identifying what is your natural leading style, and then going about doing things and letting your stakeholders know I am somebody who does things like this, is what makes it more easier for you and people working with you to work more comfortably.
Right. Okay. So there are primarily 4 domains is what we are talking about. Now, when it comes to that, Poonam, now what I wanted to understand for ITES managers primarily, right, for non-technical ITES managers, what are the list of competencies generally companies are looking for? So probably from as a coach, you should be definitely knowing it, right?
Sure. I think one biggest competency that the organizations look for in a people manager is your ability to build and lead strong teams. Right?
Okay.
And in the language of Gallup, there is this amazing concept called 5 truths of a strong team. Right?
Okay.
So let's delve a little deeper, and it's not really Greek and Latin to really look at these truths, because we're not talking about themes. We will come to seeing how themes apply, but to understand these truths, the first truth is that strong teams really focus on results and not on conflicts, which means that as a team, we're looking at what our team goal is, and we understand that conflicts is difference of opinions and ideas for us to get there. It's about the result, and it's not about what each one of us is fighting over or what each one of us is talking over. Right? The second truth is they really look at what's best for the organization. So that's about looking at what does my organization need, but what do I need, and my ability to bridge the two. Right? That's the second truth of a strong team. The third truth is there's no work and personal life are not different for them. So they have this amazing ability to seamlessly move between personal and work life. So it's a holistic approach that these teams would look at. And the fourth truth is to embrace diversity. Yeah, I know diversity is pretty big, but for our conversation today, diversity is more from a perspective of acceptance of difference of thoughts, acceptance of difference of opinions, right? And being okay to try and test different things. It's not my way, but yeah, I know somebody might have a better way than I have, right? So that's really bringing in that diversity. And the fifth truth is these teams are magnets for talent. Okay. So, which means for all the right reasons, there are sure that there are some teams we would say like, that is the team that I want to be on.
Right.
Okay? And that's the magnet for talent. So just to recap, right? So these five truths really are results and not conflicts, what is best for the organization. Work and personal life are not different. They really embrace diversity and they are magnets for talents. Now, as a people manager, when you have an ability to build and lead these strong teams, right, it is what a lot of ITES organizations are looking for. Now, why is this important is if we look at any of these truths, right? So just to give you an example, let's say GV, you take a Gallup test, okay, Gallup assessment, and you get your top five. You and I might have all the same five top five,
Okay.
which is not really possible, and it's estimated to be 1 in 33 million, right? That you and I have the same top five. But even if you and I have the same top five, the way you use them to the way I use them is absolutely different.
Okay.
It is not same at all, right? So as a manager, your ability to identify what each one of your team members bring onto the table and how do you tap into what they bring onto the table really helps you build that strong team. So building is one part, right? And leading is really about sustaining that.
Correct.
So that's the biggest competency, I would say, is what the organizations are
looking out for. Okay. That's truly amazing. One thing which I really liked about is that diversity. With the moment when we say diversity, it's about gender diversity is what people really think of. But what truly matters is that accepting different thoughts is the true diversity is what we are talking about, right? That's a very good insight, which is having talked about this, Poonam. Now what I wanted to really understand is that how to identify these themes, right, without taking a survey, right? So that's very important because somebody can take or somebody may not. Now, how to find out themes without taking survey?
Sure. So, JV, honestly, it's difficult to pinpoint and say I might have this theme without taking a survey. But what you could absolutely do is introspect a little into yourself to say, what are some things that you love to do, right? What gives you that energy to keep doing? There are some things that we all like to do. It could be because you have a lot of passion towards it. And when you introspect, you see that any number of times you would have done it, you would love doing it, right?
Okay.
It does not make you feel low in terms of energy. Right? So it gives you an immense amount of satisfaction. Like, it could be, I finished doing it, or I helped somebody, I spoke to somebody, whatever that could be. But it's really about what gives you energy and when do you feel absolutely satisfied about it. And the third is that feeling of timelessness, right?
Okay.
You can do it over and over again, and you don't feel tired about it at all. Also, it's important to look at what frustrates you, okay?
Right.
Because when you get frustrated, it is totally against your natural style of doing things. Somebody is doing against your natural style.
Right.
So that's a way to identify what you really bring to table, right? And a simple way to really do this is think about a situation where you were extremely successful.
Okay.
And that's in the past, right? You've already done that and you've been successful. So think about every single thing you did to get there for your success.
Okay.
And then evaluate in any given situation, is that what you do? Which means every time you have a certain pattern of behavior that you are tending to use, which is nothing but your talent.
Right.
So without taking an assessment, that's one of the easy ways for you to look at what do I really bring to the table.
Okay, so probably what I should be doing now is that I should take a step back and introspect the list of incidents where I was really good at. Probably uh, uh, I love, maybe am I really enjoying it, or am I really getting frustrated of doing it? So segregate those things and look at what is a common theme which is arriving at it, and then figure out, okay, this is my one of my uh, strength, or probably one of my dominating themes, right?
Yeah. And what it could also help you see is when you start looking at different things that you do, right? So for example, you could look at every single time you run a podcast, what is it that you do as preparation?
Right.
What is it that you do after the podcast, right? What's your approach to doing things? And you would identify there are some things, overall you could be doing different things, but there are some things that you might absolutely be doing the same way irrespective of number of times you do. Just as an example, it could be that you could be testing whether the system is working or not,
Right.
just as an example. Now, you would have probably done n number of podcasts, but it is important for you to do that because it maybe gives you confidence.
Right.
So now if you say put in a spot and said, it's okay, somebody's tested, go ahead and do. That might not make you feel comfortable unless you have done it, because you want to be doubly sure that it's working, right? So these are our natural behaviors. So identifying this and saying, what do I do every time? And just because somebody told you once that, oh, okay, I checked, you don't really have to check TV, it's good to go, might not make you as comfortable as you checking it yourself. Right? But for somebody else, anybody checking it is okay. I don't have to necessarily check it myself. As long as that's working, it's good. So both of you are really checking. But here you want to check it yourself. In the other situation, somebody else can also do it. These really stem from what our themes are and what do we like to do as individuals.
Okay. Okay, having talked about this, Poonam, just what come in my mind now is that, okay, now probably can you just quickly name one or two themes, right, to quickly relate, right? Probably empathy is one theme I really know for sure, because that I was referring to in the last podcast. So what are the other themes probably people are actually looking out in ITS?
Okay, so two themes that we could look at today is developer and strategic.
Okay, developer and strategic. Okay.
So we look at developer because I think a lot of things that you do as a people manager, your role really involves in developing people. So somebody who's high on the theme of developer has this innate ability to identify potential in people. And then really work with them and nurture that potential and ensure that they are able to get the best out of that particular individual. And you would see these people to be extremely calm and quiet and absolutely patient, right? So they have this amazing ability to be patient with somebody's capability to learning. So they wouldn't get impatient even with a slow learner, right? Because they believe that everyone has their learning curve and they would get there. I want to take a non-work related example, right? So a lot of us do gardening, right? And we do it for different reasons. Now, the end result of planting a tree is it will bear you fruits or flowers, right? But depending on what theme you have, the way you look at it really differs. And for example, now in the whole process of really growing a tree, you would put the grain, it becomes a sapling, and then you trim, add manure, water it regularly. It becomes a plant and yields you fruits, right? Now, somebody high on the developer, what they would enjoy is this process of nurturing the plant.
Right.
Nurturing it by, pouring water regularly, giving it enough manure, trimming it as and when needed. They're not really focused on the fruits or the flowers that have come. So they know if I have taken care of this part of the process, the outcome will automatically happen. Right? Now, there are some other themes. A lot of people do this. Now, people have this question of everybody does this, right? What's so different about it? But what drives you to do it is really different, right? I could be doing because I want to feel successful about getting the fruits and the flowers. If the fruits and the flowers don't come, I might feel extremely bad about it because I might feel unsuccessful of growing a plant. Right. But for a developer, the plant has grown, right? It is not yielded fruits or flowers is secondary. It was supposed to grow and it grew. And that's what I'm happy about. Right. There could be somebody else growing plant is a task and I finished doing a task. So just to kind of reiterate, okay, so somebody who's doing it for the task is somebody who's very high on achiever. A tick mark done, I finished doing one task. Somebody who's high on competition is the plant yielding fruits or flowers determines my success. That's the finish line. I hit the finish line, I like it. I have not hit the finish line, I'm not okay with it. Right? Okay. I'm not really bothered about the process of, or the journey towards growing that plant. But that's what developer does. So you need that innate amount of patience to grow it, right? It can catch pests, it can catch any other thing, but you are constantly nurturing it. So that's what a developer really looks at. Let's look at work. And the reason I chose to talk about non-work example is at times I see people having this misconception of themes are only related to you when you're at workplace. No. Okay. They are who you are as an individual. Right? So, and you absolutely demonstrate those behaviors at work and outside of work. Now, even when you are at work, what's important for you to think of as a developer is your ability to identify potential in people is one part. But if you see somebody being too slow a learner or somebody who's not getting to the pace where they need to, now with high theme of developer, you could also have this tendency to wait a little longer, right? Because you're absolutely patient. Right. You're patient that the other person is going to pick up. Now, that's the beauty of theme, right? Developer is a theme. If you are too patient with things, that could turn out as your own weakness. Right. And in the language of strength, you call it's operating in a basement state for you. But if you know the right amount of strokes that you need to give to that individual to move forward, kind of talk through where they need to get to, then you're using it as a strength. Right. So that's really about developer. The reason I wanted to talk about strategic, right, is I have seen a lot of people really talk about, I think I should have strategic because I'm in a people manager role, or to be in a leadership role, I should have strategic, right? Strategic is really about the ability to sort through options that you have right now. Okay? I have an X number of resources. How am I sorting through this is really about strategic as a theme. Right? So if, at work, we all go out for lunch or dinner, which is not necessarily true right now, but when you're thinking of, when you say, let's go out for a team lunch, but I need to get back by 2, you would find somebody on the team who's telling you, okay, this is the best place to go to, right? And if you ask a person, so, and especially if that person has strategic, right? How did you arrive at that? They could have said, I know there are these 3 restaurants close by. I know we need to come back by 2. I know we're going into venues, and I know that restaurant serves you the fastest. Right. So what they've basically done is they've sorted through all the options that are available right now in front of me. I'm just sorting options. That's it. I'm doing with strategic. So it's not about that English meaning of strategic, of big picture, think broad. That's not strategic. Ability to sort through things. What they're really good at is tell them what resources you have and what you need to achieve. They will sort the existing resources to get to the output. Right? So that's really about strategic as a theme. Now, somebody who's high on this theme, what they should be really watchful about is how much time are you thinking, right? Because thinking themes have this tendency of overthinking. Okay. So it's important to think, but I might have 5 minutes to answer somebody. I can't think for an hour. Right. I could think for 2 minutes because I have 5 minutes to answer. Yeah. So that ability to manage and say, okay, how much do I think and then get to execute things is really about the strategic thinking.
Okay. So now when we talk about developer as a team, Poonam, just what I was thinking about is that uh, now the only difference between the achiever and the developer is that the finish line is the complete difference, right? Probably, right? Uh, Now, having talked about all of this, Poonam, because we spoke about team broadly, how it is classified and how the teams are linked to it, and then what are the list of major themes required for in the current context. Now, last one final question I have for you is, what is one piece of advice if you wanted to give it to the first line and second line managers?
So my biggest advice would be don't break your head about what you don't have. Really understand what you have and how best can you use them, right? Just taking developer as an example again.
Right.
So developer in those 4 domains that I really spoke about falls into a relationship building domain, right?
Okay.
It's about working with people. I'm going to help us look at how can developer help you execute things, how would developer help you influence people, and how would developer also think, right? Because there is a lot of this unsaid assumption of I need to have themes in this domain for me to be able to do a certain role, which is not really true. So let's say I have developer in me. Like I said, what a developer does is identify the potential, advises what needs to be done, really challenges that person to get to the fullest potential of that person, right? And as somebody high on the theme of developer, I'm also thinking about what should I say this person, what is the first thing, second thing, third thing.
Mm.
And that's how you're building that relationship. So effectively, your ability to challenge is your influencing skills.
Right.
Your ability to tell what needs to be done is your execution skills.
Right.
And your ability to sort what is first, what is second, what is third is your thinking. Right? Now, while you're doing all of this, you are building your relationship with that particular individual. So what I would really say is spend a little time introspecting what are you naturally good at and what do you do. And it's important to look at your successes and what are some things that you always keep doing, and identify what frustrates you, because that's going to give you an indication of what's your natural working style. And then talk to people about what do you expect. Be explicit about, uh, I would like to get things done this way because this is what I like to see or what I like to do. And it makes life easier for the individual and the people working with that particular individual.
Right. All right. Uh, uh, Poonam, thank you very much for being here. And I know that you are really busy in terms of doing coaching and also managing your current work, and you with your busy schedule, and you have given us a lot of insight on how to identify strengths and leverage it, and quite a bit of Gallup language also. Right. To be more honest, I have learned a couple of Gallup language or jargons here as well. And you have truly converted all the jargons into a layman term. That is what the objective of the podcast is as well. So from that aspect, I am truly uh, grateful to you for sharing your knowledge and insight to my community. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. This has been like an amazing podcast because what I truly believe in is our ability not to complex things, but to simplify, and the ability for us to use it day in and day out, and the ability to share it with a larger group. And thank you so much for inviting me to be part of your series of podcasts.
Thank you very much. Stay tuned, guys. Our next podcast is coming on next Wednesday, and it's going to be a series of finding strengths. Right? Stay